Hello everyone, this is the ML Scholar and today we will be reviewing Nitro Blaster. Now this is an amazing fire monster. He will be an elite fire monster and he will be available on the 19th of August in the Throw of the Dead maze, which I am pretty excited for. Obviously he will be the final monster and with him there will be announced also another monster available, Acer. Now a lot of his skills, stats, and basically everything about this monster is revealed by Social Point on their forums. So this is confirmed information that this monster will have these skills. He will also have these stats, relics, books, and traits, which is pretty amazing to me. I was going through these skills just a few minutes ago, and he is definitely a great monster to have, and is definitely, I believe, will be the new meta. Now we have the stats, so let's just go over those. Now we have a life of 33,779, which is a great life. Then you have a power of 3,707, which is an amazing power stat considering this monster is an attacker. Then we have a speed of 3465, which is also basically a great speed for those monsters who are attackers and not deniers. Then we have a trait. His trait basically at rank 0 he will have the artifact trait, at rank 1 he will have the water protection, and at rank 3 he will have the status casted damage increase. So whenever the battle will start, he will apply a damage buff to all of the ally team. That's amazing that you could get this skill at rank 3. This is basically what the Fire War Master does, and that is really helpful. The extra 50% or 25% damage buff. Then we have relics that he could equip. Those are the armor and the amulet. Pretty great relics in my opinion, because you could equip relics like Attune's armor and the healing amulet, which will make this monster a force to contend with. Then we have the books that he's in. He will be in the Evil Legions, the Mechanical, and the Superheroes book, which are great books but don't make sense. How can he be a superhero when he's in Evil Legions? So that confuses me, but still those are great books and he will be a great addition. Moving on, he has in tier 1 he has Failed Step to Humanity, which applies a damage boost to itself and applies True Vision and applies bleed to itself. Now you must be wondering, if he's an artifact, how can he apply buffs and debuffs to himself? So we will come across that later on. If you're running him in hand with another skill that is down below, this could work. Now moving on, we have Ignition Beam, deals heavy fire damage to one enemy, applies ignite to one enemy. So this is a spammable 0 cooldown fire damage and ignite skill. Then we have Dehydration, which applies fire weakness to one enemy, gives one extra turn to itself, and requires cooldown. So this is a 2 cooldown skill which gives fire weakness and one extra fire weakness to an enemy and one extra turn to itself. A great skill in tier 1. Now reading this, I can already think of the skills that he will have in tier 2 and tier 3. He will be amazing fire monster. Now as you can see, he has tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4, meaning that as you rank him up, you will be unlocking those tier 4 skills as well, which are amazing in my opinion. So let's just go onwards to skills group 2, and he has Burn Baby Burn, which is a 45 damage to cooldown fire skill with an accuracy of 95%, which deals heavy fire damage to one enemy, applies burn to one enemy, applies fire weakness to one enemy. So then we have Burning Beam, which deals heavy fire damage to one enemy, applies burn to one enemy, applies ignite to one enemy. So this is a 50 damage to cooldown skill which applies burn and ignite, which is basically a better version of Ignition Beam from tier 1. Then we have Look at the Core, which deals heavy special damage to one enemy, applies Sunburn to all enemies, requires cooldown. So this is an AoE Sunburn with a single 60 damage hit to the enemy team, which I believe is pretty powerful. Then moving on to skills group 3, he will have Core Exposure, which will deal heavy special damage to an enemy and apply Sunburn to one enemy, and also give this monster an extra turn. So this monster basically will have an extra turn sunburn skill, so you could run core exposure, then follow it by either looking at the core or any of the skills down below. Then we have Beam of Inferno, which deals heavy fire damage to moderate fire damage to all enemies and applies burn to all enemies and applies ignite to all enemies. So this skill is pretty great. It will deal a 40 damage AoE with a 90% accuracy and will deal burn and ignite to all enemies, which is amazing considering if you will equip him with damage runes and his high power, this will definitely decimate the enemy team. Then we have you and your friends, which will deal moderate special damage to one enemy and then deals moderate special damage to all enemies. So this is the skill that you could use to counter area evasion monsters, for example Rimlad, O'Reilly, and obviously Helguden, and any of the monsters that have the area evade skill. So this can be pretty useful, so you could basically deal some damage to them as well while dealing damage to the enemy team. Then in skills group 4 we have a 3 cooldown 0 damage skill, which is support the organics, which will apply double damage to all allies and give 1 extra turn to itself. Unbelievable. So tier 4 unlocks when you rank up a monster. Now this monster ranked up will give a status caster damage increase. So if you do this skill, you will have a 100% damage buff. Then on top of that, he will have a 50% damage buff. And then imagine if you run this skill, Beam of the Inferno. It will decimate the entire team. Even if it doesn't, the burn and ignite together will obviously get rid of the entire team. So this is a pretty great attacker in my opinion. This is an amazing attacker and I would substitute him for my Flamarion if I'm able to get him at a high enough rank. Definitely. Then we have Star Core, which deals heavy fire damage to one enemy, applies burn to one enemy, applies ignite to one enemy, gives 1 extra turn. So this is a 60 damage 3 cooldown skill, which gives yourself an extra turn and will deal burn and ignite to a single enemy. So this is a pretty great skill as well. Then we have Evaporation, which deals heavy fire damage to all enemies, applies fire weakness to all enemies, and this is a special skill. And it's an AoE 50 damage AoE, which will have a 90% accuracy. So this is a pretty great skill as well. You could run this, then you could run Beam of the Inferno, and you don't even need to run this skill considering you have him at rank 5 and you start off with support the organics, then you move on to Beam of the Inferno. This monster will slay. This monster will definitely slay. Then we have the Posthuman. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced, but moving on. He has a disable trait on himself, then applies Pierce to itself, applies protect positive effects to itself, and activates all cooldowns on one enemy. Wow. So basically this monster will disable trait, applies its Pierce to itself, and will apply protect positive, and also activate cooldowns on the enemy. So this monster will be amazing, as you can guess by the skills, and the ultimate is so OP. I have never seen an ultimate this powerful. Let's read the ultimate, which says, share their plan. He will give anticipation to all allies, AoE curse and AoE cooldown activated on all enemies, and gives 1 extra turn to all enemies. Oh my god. So this monster will basically apply anticipation to the entire team. Then he will apply AoE curse on the enemy team. Then he will follow that by activating the cooldowns and giving all of the enemy team extra turns. Decimating. This skill is decimating. And considering he has such a high power, you give him level 10 runes and he will wreck. So my recommended skill set for level 100 will be you and your friends, which will deal moderate special damage to all enemies. Then obviously the AoE burn and ignite, which is the Beam of the Inferno, And then core exposure deals heavy special damage, applies sunburn to one enemy and gives one extra turn. And I would then also run a single skill, which will be burning beam, or either this one dehydration or burn baby burn. This monster is truly amazing monster, and I will definitely try my best to get him. And if you get him ranked up, you should definitely run the tier 4 skills, which are obviously very overpowered. I would definitely recommend running support the organics, which will apply double damage to all allies and give one extra turn to itself. Then this will also deal a heavy star core is also a pretty great skill. Then evaporation deals heavy fire damage to all enemies, applies fire weakness to all enemies. I wouldn't recommend running this one because you could just simply substitute it out for Beam of the Inferno, which is a better skill in my opinion. And then you could also run the Posthuman, which is another amazing trait. So now keep in mind, this monster is an artifact, so you cannot apply damage buff to himself until and unless you run this skill, the Posthuman, because then this skill will disable trait on itself, apply pierce and apply positive effects blocks. So you will have double damage and you will have the status caster damage increase. So all in all, this monster will be a great attacker, and I would definitely recommend you getting him from the maze. And yeah, that's it for the Nitro Blaster review. Hope you liked it. Please like, subscribe to my videos and share them. I would also like to hear your comments on this monster, and I will be linking this down below. Social Points shared this on their forums to know the players' thoughts, and obviously you could go share your thoughts over there as well. So good luck and peace out.